In the vast burnished silence of the Arizona frontier lived a man whose loneliness had become as much a part of him as the creaking boards of his weather-worn ranch house. Elias Boone, a quiet rancher known in the scattered settlements as a decent man with strong hands and a wounded heart, carrying the weight of memories he never spoke aloud. He found solace only in tending his cattle and listening to the whispering wind that curled around the canyons like an old friend, until one fateful evening, when the sun melted into red embers across the horizons and shadows thickened beneath the mesquite trees, Elias stumbled upon tracks unlike any he had seen before. Light, swift, purposeful belonging. Two riders who had crossed his land with the precision of ghosts before he could fully comprehend. The air vibrated with the sharp whistle of an arrow, striking the ground inches before his boot, and as he spun around, he found himself surrounded by a circle of mounted Apache women whose stern eyes shone like polished obsidian, each carrying the composed strength of generations. At their forefront was Nalin, who studied him not with hatred, but with unreadable judgment. Bewildered, insisted he meant no harm. He was seized and bound with braided rawhide, lifted onto a mare, and carried away under the fading light. The journey led them through narrow canyons, over rock-strewn cliffs, and into a hidden valley lush with wildflowers and crystalline springs, where the women's tribe thrived. Under a matriarchal leadership grounded in wisdom and fierce unity, Elias was brought before Elder Sani, a silver-haired storyteller whose voice held the weight of centuries, and after long deliberation, she decreed that since Elias had seen their sanctuary a secret men had never entered, he would remain among them until his spirit could be judged trustworthy. Though initially met with suspicion from the tribe's warriors, including the fiery Tala and the silent, enigmatic Yansa, Elias soon proved his humility by offering two men tools, fix fences, and treat the wounded horses with gentle expertise, slowly softening the edges of hostility. The women began to see in him not a trespasser but a man who carried sorrow like a shadow and kindness like a torch. And as days stretched into weeks, Elias found himself drawn to their world, the camaraderie, the laughter around firelit evenings, the respect for earth and sky, and most of all, the unexpected warmth beneath Nalin's once cold exterior. Yet beneath this growing bond pulsed an unspoken tension, for rumors of an approaching threat. A group of outlaw scouts hunting the valley's existence forced the Apache women to strengthen their defenses. One night, under a sky strewn with stars, Nalin confessed quietly that the tribe debated whether Elias was a blessing or a beacon for danger, and though he wished desperately to prove his loyalty, fate would test him sooner than any of them expected. Dawn rose like a copper tide over the valley when the first distant gunshot echoed through the cliffs, fracturing the peaceful rhythm of the tribe as women rushed to their positions, gripping bows and spears with steady determination while smoke from the watchfires spiraled into the clear air. Elias, startled from sleep, emerged from the lodge where he had been allowed to stay, only to find chaos tempered by discipline. Nalin barking sharp orders, Tala sprinting to the outer ridges, and Yansa preparing the younger warriors with stoic precision. Though some still doubted him, Elias insisted on helping, and when Nalin hesitated, he met her eyes with a promise carved from sincerity. He would defend their home, even if it meant his life. Together they moved toward the entrance of the valley where the outlaw scouts, greedy for hidden Apache gold that existed only in rumor, were closing in with rifles and malicious confidence, unaware that the women they challenged were guardians forged by harsh land and ancestral courage. Arrows hissed through the air with deadly grace, striking the ground before the attackers' feet as a warning. But when the outlaws fired in return, war erupted like lightning, splitting the sky, and Elias, heart-pounding, threw himself into the fray not as a captive, but as a man finally fighting for something greater than himself. He used his rancher's instincts to predict the outlaws' movements, guiding Nalin and Tala to flank them from higher ground. And when one outlaw attempted to sneak behind the defensive circle, as the battle wore on, until finally, after a grueling confrontation, the scouts retreated, limping and broken, leaving the valley untouched. In the aftermath, exhausted but alive, the Apache women gathered around Elias with a new expression, one of respect earned through sweat and courage. And Elder Sani, with eyes shimmering in the firelight, proclaimed that though Elias had entered their sanctuary as an outsider, he had proven his spirit belonged with them. In the days that followed, healing rituals and celebration filled the valley as the tribe honored their unity. Tala teased him with newfound fondness. Yansa offered quiet nods of approval, and the younger women sought his stories of ranch life while braiding feathers into his hat. Yet it was Nalan whose presence stirred something deeper within him, and during a twilight walk along the riverbank, she admitted that his courage had changed not only the tribe's view of him but her own guarded heart, replaced by a community that valued him and a woman whose fierce fire matched his quiet strength. When the time came to decide whether he would return to his ranch or remain, Elias chose not out of obligation, but love. He stayed, forging a life intertwined with Nalan's people, learning their traditions, protecting their home, and cherishing the place that had transformed him from a solitary rancher into a man whose heart was claimed not by one woman, but by an entire tribe who called him family. And as wine swept golden petals across the valley floor, Elias knew the world would never understand the sanctuary he had found, but he also knew the story was worth sharing, for in its folds lived courage, love, unity,